This is a Chinese film composed of 4 stories. Each story is based on real events and was a focal point in China at the time. Now, let's begin telling the stories of the film. In the early 2000s, a village chief in Shaanxi colluded with a contractor to embezzle the village's collective coal mine. At the contractor's welcome banquet, a villager named Dahai questioned the contractor about the contract and expressed his intention to take a train to Beijing to report them. Dahai grabbed the contractor, demanding that he publicly disclose the coal mine's financial records to the entire village. The contractor completely ignored Dahai, a villager he looks down upon. He also had no intention of letting go of the villager who had embarrassed him. As a result, his men struck Dahai on the head with a shovel, leaving him blooded and severely injured. Some even mocked Dahai's beaten state, comparing him to a golf ball. While Dahai was in the hospital receiving treatment, the contractor sent flower baskets and fruit baskets and disdainfully gave Dahai 20,000 yuan. They were trying to hush things up and avoid further trouble. Dahai had originally been fighting for the rights of all the villagers, but at this moment, he had become the target of ridicule. Everyone gave Dahai a nickname, Golf, mocking his injuries. Silently enduring everyone's mockery, Dahai returned home without saying a word. At home, staring at his bandaged reflection in the mirror, Dahai found it increasingly hard to swallow his humiliation. He opened his wardrobe, took out his hunting rifle, loaded it, and cocked it. In fact, Dahai had once considered fighting back by filing an official complaint. He wrote a letter intending to report the village's corruption to the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection. When he went to send the letter, he didn't know the exact address. He wanted to send the letter directly to Zhongnanai, but the postal worker said it couldn't be sent without a specific address. Dahai replied, "You little girl must be in cahoots with the village chief and the contractor, right? Did they pay you off?" Dahai walked out of the post office in disappointment and happened to encounter a car that was there to pick up the contractor. The man with glasses said that the contractor had bought a private jet, flying back from Hong Kong, and the village chief had organized everyone to go pick him up. An enraged Dahai spotted the village accountant in the car. He questioned the accountant about the coal mine's financial records, pointing out that the mine had been contracted for 14 years and made significant profits, yet the villagers had never received any dividends. He accused the village chief and the accountant of taking bribes and betraying the interests of the villagers. The accountant and the villagers completely ignored him. Dahai recalled the scene he had witnessed that morning, a coachman relentlessly whipping the horse pulling his cart. He felt as if he were that horse. At this moment, his anger reached its peak, and he decided to strike back. He went to the accountant's house first, demanding that the accountant record all the corruption committed by the village chief over the years. The accountant had been involved in the corruption himself, but under the threat of the gun, he reluctantly prepared to start writing. Coincidentally, the sound of police sirens echoed nearby, giving the accountant newfound confidence. He believed that this lowly villager wouldn't dare fire a shot under such circumstances. Tragically, he underestimated Dahai's determination. Both the accountant and his wife were shot and killed. Dahai didn't stop there. He quickly made his way to the village committee office, and the receptionist in front of him was the very person who had insulted him that morning. At that moment, the receptionist couldn't help but continue mocking his nickname. Dahai learned that the village chief had gone to the temple fair and quickly dealt with the arrogant man with a single shot. Dahai, carrying his gun, rushed towards the temple fair. When someone asked him what he was doing, he replied, "I'm going to shoot some livestock." The village chief was blocked by Dahai at the entrance of the temple fair and shot dead. On his way to the mine, Dahai encountered the coachman again, who was whipping the horse. He decided to take revenge on the horse that symbolized his own suffering. He got into the back seat of the contractor's car, pressing the gun against the back of his head. The contractor thought money could solve everything and urged Dahai to state his demands. But the sound of gunfire replaced Dahai's response. Having completed everything, Dahai felt an immense sense of relief and broke into an eerie smile. He felt no regret and had no desire to escape. If the world was unfair, he would seek justice with the gun in his hand. Now, let's move on to the second story of the film. This man with a backpack is named Joe-san. As he rode his motorcycle down the road, he encountered 3 robbers. The 3 robbers had no idea that the man before them was a real tough guy. He swiftly drew his handgun and shot the two men in front. Of course, he couldn't let the third robber escape either. After missing a shot, Joe San chased after the robber on his motorcycle and successfully hit the target with a shot from his left hand. On his way back to his hometown, Joe San encountered Dahai, who had not yet completed his killing spree. Due to his numerous crimes, Joe San had a strong awareness of counter-surveillance. He changed multiple modes of transportation before finally returning to his hometown. He rarely returned to his hometown, but this time it was for his mother's birthday. After the birthday celebration, he took his wife and son back to their home. At this time, his two older brothers arrived at the house. They came with the intention of splitting the gifts and money received during the birthday celebration. They even insisted on dividing the remaining 9 cigarettes, with each family getting 3. Joe San asked his eldest brother to give his share to their mother, but his brother told him to deliver it to her himself. In recent years, Joe San had committed crimes while away and had sent money home a few times, a total of 130,000 yuan. His wife certainly knew that he was committing crimes outside, but the money Joe San sent home had indeed improved their living conditions. She had nothing to blame him for. He lit 3 cigarettes as if they were incense sticks, honoring the 3 robbers he had killed. Joe San believed in the survival of the fittest. He muttered that everything was destined by the heavens, saying, "If you 3 can't understand that, go ask the heavens." He also despised the indifferent familial bonds between his own brothers. At night, the village celebrated the New Year and someone set off fireworks. He hadn't prepared any fireworks, but seeing his son's envious expression as he watched the fireworks, he wanted to give his son a special fireworks gift. He fired a few shots into the sky. Joe San didn't dare stay at home for too long and prepared to buy a ticket to set off on his journey once again. When faced with his wife's inquiry, Joe San responded that he wanted to go to Myanmar because he wanted to obtain a faster and more powerful weapon. Perhaps because this trip would take him far from home, the man decided to pull off a big score to leave more money for his family. He entered a shop, pretending to ask about the restroom, and left his backpack, instructed the shop owner to keep an eye on his backpack for him. Then he went outside and changed into a blue work uniform, casually took a cart to disguise his identity. Joe San put on sunglasses and then fixed his sights on a middle-aged couple who had just withdrawn money. He had no reservations and fired his gun directly in the crowded street. After grabbing the bag filled with money, he quickly returned to the shopping mall. He took out a black plastic bag to hide the stolen money, then removed his work uniform and tossed it aside. This was a highly efficient crime. Then Joe San boarded a long-distance bus. He forcefully demanded the driver to stop. Drawing on his years of experience in counter-surveillance, he never got off at the station. Now, we enter the third story. On this bus, there was a middle-aged man named John. This time, he was here to meet his lover, Ziyu. Ziyu desperately wanted to build a home with John. She hoped John would divorce his wife and be with her. But John didn't give her an answer. As she was seeing John off, the fruit knife in his bag couldn't pass through security, so Ziyu took it from him, intending to keep it as a memento. Little did she know, this knife would change her life forever. She worked as a receptionist at a foot massage parlor. One day, Jane's wife, along with a few others, came to her shop and gave her a beating. Ziyu not only suffered a beating, but was also insulted and ridiculed for being a homewrecker, the third party in someone else's marriage. Even after being beaten, no one around showed her any sympathy. She could only temporarily return to her mother's side, but later learned through the news that the train John was on had met with an accident. A few days later, she pulled herself together and returned to work. That day, she was harassed by a difficult customer. Although Ziyu explained that she was the receptionist and did not provide massage services, the customer continued to pester her. This customer even called over a friend, revealing that they were local officials. They said they could offer Ziyu more money if she provided sexual services. Ziyu rejected their requests multiple times, but they wouldn't give up. They even escalated their verbal insults, humiliating her further. Seeing that Ziyu still refused to comply, the official became even more arrogant and aggressive. He shoved the woman onto the sofa, trying to force her to comply. She stood up, only to be pushed back onto the sofa again. The official, holding a bundle of cash, struck Ziyu with it. The more the official hit her, the more excited he became, while Ziyu's feelings of humiliation were reaching their breaking point. In the end, she swung the fruit knife, unable to bear it any longer. In her fury, Ziyu stabbed him 2 more times. The other official, shocked by the scene, quickly fled the place in fear. Ziyu, trembling but resolute, slowly took out her phone and dialed the police, surrendering herself for what she had done. Before his accident, John was a supervisor in a factory workshop. And now, the film moves into the 4th story. The young man from this factory is called Zihu. He left his post during work to chat with his blonde-haired friend. As a result, his blonde-haired friend's hand got injured by the machine. John emphasized that the company has a rule. Leaving one's post during work hours is strictly prohibited. As punishment, Zihu is required to cover all the losses incurred during the time the blonde-haired friend is unable to work. Zihu, who dropped out of school at 16 to work and was already poor, could not afford the burden and had to leave the factory. He went to Dongguan and, with the help of a friend, secured a job at a nightclub. At that time, Dongguan was commonly referred to as the city of sex, with the sex industry being highly prevalent. It could be said to be a paradise for men, as the sexual services offered in the nightclubs were beyond imagination. There were different themed uniform nights, where beautiful girls were like commodities that could be chosen. And all of this was in open secret. When Zihu first arrived at the nightclub, he had to undergo basic training on how to greet guests. The main requirement was to be able to welcome guests in 3 different languages: English, Mandarin, and Cantonese. One day, while changing clothes, Zihu, who had just started working as a waiter, encountered a girl. The girl, named Li Meng, was a sex worker at the nightclub. This awkward encounter marked the beginning of them getting to know each other. In a place like this, seeing such a shy and innocent boy left a deep impression on Li Meng. They then began introducing themselves to each other, breaking the initial awkwardness. Zihu also fell in love at first sight with this beautiful girl. They quickly became friends. They helped each other put on their work uniforms. Tonight, the theme of the nightclub is Military Parade Night. All the beautiful girls were dressed in military uniforms, waiting for the guests to inspect them, essentially to be chosen. Zihu was smoking in the rest room when the girl returned after serving the first batch of guests. While chatting, the girl saw a news article on her tablet. 130 LV bags found in the home of a female official from northeast China, valued at over 2 million. Another news article reported that a coal mine explosion in Shaanxi had killed over a dozen people. They discussed what to comment and finally settled on writing TMD in the comments section, the Chinese equivalent of fuck in English. During the conversation, they started making sexual jokes again. The shy Zihu quickly changed the subject. At that moment, the girl suddenly ran outside and brought back a bag with goldfish inside. After confirming that the goldfish was still alive, the girl finally felt relieved. These were meant to be released to set them free. According to the girl, working in this industry meant they needed to do more good deeds in order to find release in the next life. With tip from customer, Zihu bought a Buddha statue and gave it to Li Meng as a gift. In the car, the boy kissed the girl and confessed his feelings for her. He asked the girl to leave Dongguan with him, but her eyes kept darting away, avoiding his gaze. At that moment, the rain outside intensified and she finally revealed her hesitation. She had a daughter. Zihu fell silent, realizing he did not have the means to support both a mother and daughter. The next time Zihu saw the girl was in a specially themed train compartment used for private receptions. He couldn't resist watching through the window, only to see the girl he loved providing sexual services. Zihu was completely devastated in the end. He quit his job at the nightclub and went to work at a large factory. On his first day at the factory, the supervisor welcomed him, proudly stating that this was a Fortune 500 company, encouraged him to work hard. After finishing work, Zihu received a phone call from his family. His mother didn't ask how his work was going. Instead, she simply asked for money, insisting that he send more back home. Despite emphasizing his own difficulties, it made no difference. Just when he was feeling physically and mentally exhausted, a new trouble arose. His former friend, the blonde-haired guy, came to Dongguan looking for him, seeking revenge for what had happened before. In the end, feeling that he was also quite pitiful, the blonde-haired guy chose not to hit him. The various hardships in life made him feel disgusted and helpless toward the world. Sitting on the bed and thinking for a long time, Zihut finally made a determined leap from the upper floor. He ended his desperate life. With that, the fourth story comes to an end. This film is based on true events, cleverly intertwining each story to reflect the hardships of the lower class in Chinese society and the harsh realities of social injustice. Alright, we'll conclude our review of the movie's story here. Thank you for watching.